Hello, everyone. I thank you so much for being here today. And I also would like to thank the organizers of the Global Biodiversity Festival for their invitation. I am very honored to be speaking shoulder to shoulder with such a great leaders and conservationists around the world. Today, I'd like to briefly talk to you about our conservation work in orchids and what has been taking place during the last 5 years, and that involves scientific research, but most important, outreach and social work. This is also a very personal work for me, and most of my dreams and hopes for a better world are deposited here. So despite all the bad things you hear about Colombia, including narco-traffic, civil war, and now systematic violation of the human rights, today I like to talk about the positive of a country like Colombia. And would like to think this is only a transitional phase that will in the end bring peace and equality to our territories. I think that this era of peace started when the peace agreement was signed and is irreversible. And one of the many consequences of peace has to be with making peace with nature in a country with an extraordinary geographical and natural biodiversity. And I have chosen to participate of this transition to peace and peace with nature through the study and conservation of an iconic, beautiful, and diverse group of plants, the orchids. Orchids are one of the most species-rich groups of plants in the planet. They inhabit many types of ecosystems and have different types of habits. Colombia has been recognized as one of the most orchids rich species in the world. And orchids are particularly diverse in the Colombian Andes, and they are also disappearing very rapidly due to habitat loss, and in particular in the Andes, we have been having a tremendous amount of habitat lost. But they are also disappearing due to poaching. People like to pick orchids from the field. It's part of our tradition, and it has been historically taking place for many, many years. Orchids are also one of the most charismatic organisms in the flowering plants. Here, we want to propose they can bring prosperity and peace with nature to vulnerable Colombian communities. And I already say that orchids are charismatic, and I think that they are because they attract the attention of too many different crowds. And they can be used as flagship species for conservation, and more importantly, for conservation of whole ecosystems and the ecosystem services that come within these ecosystems, like water protection, pollination, soil microorganisms, and many others. And besides orchid being charismatics, I also have said that they are in peril. They are ecological specialists. So in the Andes, they have occupied really particular and specialized niches. They have been lost because of habitat loss, but also because, as I say, over-collecting that has happened since many or hundreds of years ago. And this has caused local extinction and also complete extinction of many beautiful and big and showy species. Also, climate change is adding to the decline of species and survivorship of this group of plants. So here we have developed a long-lasting relationship or collaboration with the Colombian Orchid Society. And as of today, we are actively working in 2 Colombian regions. The northern part of the Colombian Andes, also known as the Chocó biogeographical region, and in particular in La Reserva Orquídeas. I will be talking a little bit more about what we do there. And I have been also working in collaboration with many different institutions in Florencia, Caquetá. This is the south part of Colombia, and it's an ecotone region where the Andes meet the Amazonian forest. So the Andean foothills. So first, let me tell you something that if you have seen my talks before, I can ignore, because this collaboration of this, or the relationship that I have developed with the Colombian Orchid Society as a scientist is unique, and you are not going to find that many researchers around the world have developed a tight and a strong connection with these orchid societies. And the Colombian Orchid Society is perhaps one of the most, or one of the biggest orchid societies in the world, because we also live in a country with lots of orchid species, and they are located in Medellin, Antioquia, and were founded like more than 50 years ago. They do a lot of things around Medellin and Colombia, but one of the most iconic things they do is an orchid show that takes place in the city of Medellin every August, and that has given us a little bit of, or have given them, or me, because I am included here, a little bit of funds to finance this initiative that I will talk to you about in a second. So this society brings together a group of private collectors, both commercial and amateur collectors, and they have an impressive wealth of information about Colombian orchids. But perhaps more important, they have these unique live collections that are, as I said before, not found anywhere else in the world. These collections are species and also a genetic reservoir for orchids. Many of them have been lost in their natural habitats. And just to give you an example, this is another slide that I cannot share in one of my presentations. It's about the collection of Colombian Orquídeas. The collector or the business owner is Juan Felipe Posada. And it's a long-lasting tradition that has gone around in many generations in his family. And they have around 2,500 Colombian species, more than 200 live orchids, and more than 6,000 worldwide species. So this is only a particular collection, one of the biggest ones in the world, I would say. But there are also some amateur collectors that have between 100 and 2,000 species of specialized collections, and also hybrids. And I have shown you some hybrids already during the presentation. So in 2015, the Colombian Orchid Society acquired 300 hectares of land. Today we have a little bit over 500 hectares of cloud forest in Jardín, Antioquia. And as I said, this reserve was initially bought with money members of the society have saved from these orchid shows that are completely funded by the Medellin governmental offices, but also by the public in general that go to the botanical garden to see this amazing show. But also more recently, we had more land, like 200, a little bit over 200 hectares of land. Through environmental compensations, we have managed to find. So at La Reserva Orquídeas, we protect one of the best and last preserved cloud forests in the Antioquia department in the north part of Colombia, home to many different type or many fauna and that we have been monitoring for many years. So following, I will show you some beautiful pictures of what we do here. We have people from like local young people that are helping us and that we are helping doing, let me use my pointer here, sorry. Doing many different activities related to research and restoration of the forest. We have these nurseries where we have orchids that we are preserving and reproducing for using the circassitum conservation strategy. And we also have been doing a lot of restoration. We have a small pilot monitoring restoration plot, and we are also growing many different types of trees that are endangered and also native. So far, we have an inventory of around 170 orchid species. These are some of the ones that we have in there. We have also a great amount of different insects and pollinators that we are preserving at La Reserva. As I say, we are germinating and growing trees. We have more than 15,000 wax palms, the Colombian national tree that we are planting around the reserve. And also growing and experimenting with a lot of germination of endangered trees that we are also planting around this place. Apart from this, we have also doing a lot of work with mosses. So I have been measuring the rate at which these mosses are growing, and we want to reproduce them to start restoring the forest or the places where there are no forests, the padlocks, with this sphagnum. We also have an inventory of about 1,200 species of flora, lots of different varieties of fungi. And as I say, we have inventories and monitoring of this, all this like fauna. In particular, we have we have been doing population studies with this community of spectacled birds we have at the reserve, and also lots of different and endangered birds. Apart from what I just showed you, that is like a little bit of the research we do at this forest. We have been, or we have the help of many international NGOs and are developing a whole infrastructure that we hope is growing. Like we have trails and nurseries and etc. And we have been receiving before COVID tourists and also local communities, because we wanted them to learn about and to train them about the cloud forest, epiphytes, orchid conservation, among many other topics. And we also have done many campaigns around the region, around Antioquia, for flora and fauna protection. And we are developing a whole image through souvenir posters, booklets for kids, among others. But for us, the most important thing is the interaction with communities and the citizen sciences. And it's also very important for our conservation efforts. We have the opportunity, or we have had the opportunity to bring together communities while doing education, conservation, and exploring with citizens and technologies, and exploring like our biodiversity. Okay, so switching a little bit of gears, I want to talk to you about the second conservation project that we have. And this is in the Amazon, and is a project that involves orchid exploration, conservation, and horticulture. And we are doing this in particular with a community of El Caquetá in the south part of Colombia, in the Andean foothills with the Amazonian, I say. And here we are developing a whole program that is being implemented initially with the community of El Manantial. This is a mixed community that involves two indigenous communities, some settlers, peasants, and in general, local people that have struggled with the conflict for many years. And with them, we are developing this project in orchid horticulture and conservation. We would like to span in the near future this project. We already have the resources to do so, to expand it to ex-FARC guerrilla members, victims of the conflict, and women head of families, or mothers head of families. And basically, our project is bringing together researchers with communities to do exploration and orchid prioritization in this cordillera and the plains. And initially, we want to do conservation and tourism, but in the future, we will also like to have orchid commercialization. So far, we have done a series of explorations in the department to collect live material. We are cultivating orchids in a community nursery of El Manantial. And with this information, we are generating a checklist for the department. I want to highlight that this was a very unexplored department because of the war that used to be there with the guerrillas of FARC. And now we have been describing new species and being able to do this research in orchids. I'm going to show you some pictures of the nurseries and the fieldwork that we have been doing with professors from La Universidad de la Amazonía and also students there. We have done some field work. Unfortunately, this project started with the COVID crisis start, so we have had some personal interactions, but many of the activities that we have done are using technology because we can't meet in person for many things. So we collect these plants from the field, just a little bit, bring to the community nurseries, and the communities are helping us to reproduce these plants so we can reintroduce them in places like this reserve that used to have a lot of orchids, but they don't have them anymore. So besides this, we have also been using ideas that Humboldt institution here in Colombia have put forward with the goal of prioritizing species that are in peril or species that might have a potential in commercialization. Also, we are growing these species with educational goals. And this is all done again with the participation of Colombian Orchid Society, especially the younger generations and the communities of El Caquetá. These are some of the species that we have seen in the wild. And I will show pretty pictures for a bit here. And So the project started in the middle of the pandemic. We have done a great effort to reach our communities and train them in things like in vitro cultivation, horticulture, and photography. And it's really have been a project where we have brought together many different stakeholders to make the part of the project ideas and the decision. And I'm really proud of it because it has been mostly through remote interaction, as I have said. So for the in vitro cultivation, or the cultivo in vitro, that is in Spanish, we are producing massive amounts of orchids for, as I say, plant ecotourism and reintroduction in El Manantial, in this reserve. But ideally, we would like for these communities to develop orchid cultivation to enter national and international markets in the future. And this has been a successful, particularly with the younger people, the younger generation. They have come, help us to cultivate, learn how to take the plants out of in vitro cultivation and start to adapting them to the nursery. And yeah. Also, so this is a picture that is showing our team and the people that have participated of the courses that we have given in person there. And I want to give a big shout out to Mari, which is the person where we have, or the inspiration of this project, and where we have the nursery. She's taking and in charge of all the activities that are around the cultivation of orchids. So basically, we want to make El Manantial a reference site for orchids and for orchid research in Caquetá, in the south of Colombia. And we want to also have a reservoir of species there that can be used for many scientists from around the world for evolutionary, ecology, and conservation studies. But at the same time, we want to do plant education and tourism in this reserve. So to conclude my talk, we are using orchids and their conservation to allow Colombian communities to make peace with nature. And we believe, or I believe, that making peace with nature also means being able to develop green economies, having sustainable incomes. And the last, I want to acknowledge all the effort of many people and institutions, my students, members of the Colombian Orchid Society, the communities of Jardín, and many other people that has helped us in many ways. So, yeah, with that, I'm finishing my talk.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tatiana. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
You're all about the orchids. And we are just up at time, but my one question for you is, how are the communities reacting to the campaigns? Are they engaged and excited about it, or are they a little bit hesitant? How has the response been so far to your work?
So far, we have a mix of, well, it depends. Like in Jardín, they are like in Antioquia, they are all for it. They are participating. As I say, it's a lot of young people and mothers, heads of families. And in Caqueta, the situation is a bit more complex. We have two big groups of people. Some people that are not at all compromised and then don't like what we have been doing, so it's been hard. But then we have a big majority that are taking or being really like involved in what we are doing and thinking that we can really have a major change over there with this project. So yeah, it's mixed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. But it sounds like you're on the right track with all of the work and involving the communities. So thank you so much for all of your work that you've been doing. We'll look forward to hear how it progresses into the future, and excited about the tourism and education portion to come in the Amazonian region also. So thank you so
Okay.
much, Tatiana.
Thank you. You have a good day or night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.